Hi, this is Amber. We are now going to look at Adobe Spark Pages. That's where we're going to start. And Pages is kind of known as also presentations or web pages, but basically it's the icon that looks like a little blue circle with a folder in it. So that's what we're going to be looking at, and you'll notice if I hover, it calls it a web page. It's basically creating a presentation page with a URL so that you can link to these presentations. So once you're logged into Adobe Spark, you'll notice there are some ideas that roll across here, as well as some features that run across the top. But where I'm going to have you go is click on the blue circle with the white plus sign, and this is where the easiest place to come and create a certain feature of Adobe Spark. And since we're going to be doing pages, I'm going to click on the one that says page. So I'm going to click on that. And what you'll notice, it's going to take a couple seconds to start creating it, but once you're there, it's very, very easy to use. And basically, you're going to be clicking on plus signs to add the content that you want to use. So before I get started with this, I want to kind of give you a few scenarios. This may be a situation where you're wanting your students to present what they've learned, to present their knowledge, to take all these things that they've been researching and learning about and putting it into an Adobe Spark page presentation. Now, you may have in the past had students make a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides presentation. This is just another way to present content. The great thing about this is it looks very futuristic. It has some really cool transitional effects that make it a little different than simply clicking from slide to slide, and I'll go over these as we go through this. So let's take a look at this page. Now, we're not using a template here, we're using a start from scratch because I like to start from scratch to show you how to utilize the different pieces of pages, and then of course there's templates later that you can use, but I think it's important for you to see how to start with the basics first. So you'll notice it's in a Spark page, so you'll see the Spark logo or the home at the top, and you'll see page because this is a page. So going across the top, you have settings, preview, present, share, and you can add collaborators, and then there's an undo and redo button and themes. So at the top under settings, you'll notice it's sort of grayed out because right now what we need to do is go ahead and give our presentation a title, and you'll notice this is simply a click and type situation. So we're going to imagine that I've done a research project on reptiles. So I'm going to go ahead and give my presentation a title, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a subtitle, and I'm going to use that as a place to put the author's information. So now that I have a title and a subtitle, you'll notice that the things across the top are now available for me to access. So I'm going to go in settings, and I do want you to see that for project settings under pages, you have the option to show the header and footer. Now, when you hide that, it's simply going to hide or show the header and footer, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later. But that's basically all there is under settings. Preview is a place that when you click on it, it lets you see it how a participant would see it. And so then I have the present button, which enables me to take up my whole screen and start presenting. And I don't want to do that right now, but I did want to show you that's there. Similar to a Google Slides present button or a PowerPoint presentation slideshow button. Then I have the ability to share, and you'll notice I can publish and share a link. I can print it out, or I can invite people to see it. I do want you to see that when you use the invite button, so if I wanted to add Angie McClung, you'll see here, if I add her here, she's going to be a collaborator, which means she will be able to edit this. Now, the thing about Adobe Spark that's a little bit different than like Google Docs or Google Drawings is that only one person can be using it at a time. So I would have to arrange with Angie when she was working on it and when I was working on it. So it is collaborative, but it can't be, it has to be asynchronously collaborative. So I'm going to go ahead and close this because I really don't want to invite anyone right now. But then I have the undo button and the redo button. Now also, before I start adding content, there's a section called themes. This is where you can choose some different kinds of themes. You'll notice there's some different fonts, different colors, different backgrounds. So you can choose something that would work for you. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one because I think that might look a little dynamic for my reptiles, or maybe I want to be whimsical. So whatever it is that I want to use, you change it and it changes it for the entire presentation. Now also what's different is I can't say that I want Teresa on the home page and Bruce on the next page and then Luca on the next page. You do have to pick a theme and stick with it. So whatever it is that you choose, that's the one that you're sort of going to be stuck with. So I'm going to go back and add this one. So once you finish with your themes, you can click that and sort of send it away. So you'll notice I put my title and I put my subtitle, which in this case happened to be my name. But now let's start thinking about the types of content that you might add into a page. So you'll notice that there's a plus sign, and when I click a plus sign, it's going to tell me the things that I can add. And here the only thing that I can add is a photo, and that means behind this I can put a photo. So you have different options for what kinds of things you can put in as a photo. And so here are some of the things I want to show you. I can upload a photo. So if I've done a project where I've gone and I've taken my own photography, I can actually use those pictures. Now you could go and have students look for pictures to use, but honestly this is also a great place to find the content that they need. So you'll notice under here I have find free photos, and I also can find things from my Google Drive. These other things we're not going to worry about because we don't have accounts for those, but I can find free photos or connect to my Google Drive where I've saved some copyright-free images that I might want to use. But I'm going to show you why this is a really cool tool to use, is the Find. So when I click Find Free, you'll notice that it's searching Unsplash. And Unsplash is a copyright-free site where you can find really super high-quality images. So since I'm doing reptiles here, I'm just going to see if I can find any pictures of reptiles, and I'll do a search. And so you'll see I've got these great high quality pictures. And then after I find it, let's try this one out and see. It's going to hide my reptile, so I might want to change that image. So I could click undo, and then I can add my picture. And let's see, it kept my search, which I love that about this. Let's see, if I did do a vertical picture, I'm not going to really be able to move it except if I go to focal point. So I'm going to drag it down so that my focal point is here. And then I'm going to click save, and now I kind of put him underneath there. So if you do a vertical image, you'll want to make sure that you change your focal point. And again, I got to that by clicking on the image and clicking focal point. I can also click replace if I'd like to replace that image, or delete if I want to delete it. So that's just like my home page, my first slide, if you will. But you'll notice if I keep scrolling, it says scroll to start writing your story. So here are the things that I can start with next. I could just put up a picture. I could put up some text. I can add a button that goes somewhere else. I can insert a video. I can create a photo grid, a glide show, and I can even split the layout and have an image on one side and text on the other. So since this is the first page of my report that has my content in it, I think I'm going to use text first. So I'm going to go ahead and click text, and what you'll notice is now I get blinking cursor, and I have some heading tools, some quotation tools, simple bullets, numbering, bold italics. I have a place I can add a link, and then I have some alignment options. But what you'll also notice is I have a plus sign above and a plus sign below, so that if I forgot to insert something that's a different kind of content, I can do that here, or insert something below. So I'm going to go ahead and put some content into my All About Reptiles document. So now that I have some content here, I'll have to decide what I want to do next. And you'll notice as you scroll, you'll have that plus sign that pops up and it says, what would you like to add next? So I think what I'd like to do next is add a photo. So when I click on photo, you'll notice I get that same search on the right hand side, but I can also click back and upload a photo if I have one, or connect to my Google Drive. But since I'm still talking about reptiles, I'm going to go ahead and choose an image. So once you put in an image, It will load for you, and what I want you to notice is on both of the images that I've chosen so far in my page presentation, there's a little I, an information button on the side. And if you click on that, it actually shows you the citation information for that image. So it actually provides credit as you go so that you don't have to remember where you got that image. It actually brings over the photographer information and the source information for you, which is super cool. And the theme that I chose kind of puts this little picture format around it so it looks like a picture. So I've already done text and photo. So let's talk about button. What a button would do is it would take you somewhere else to see more information. I might want to put that so that they'll know where they could go learn more information about reptiles. So I'm going to click on button and show you what you can do with that. So button text is what you want to appear on the button. So I could say learn more about reptiles. And after I say learn more about reptiles, I would put the URL. So I would go and copy the URL and paste it. So I have this great website I want them to go to. It's the National Geographic website for reptiles. And then I can decide where I want my button. Do I want it to be at the left like it's showing? Do I want to center it? Where do I want to put it? So I'm going to click save, and you'll notice this says learn more about reptiles. That may be something that I want to put at the very bottom so that after they've read my report, they could click there and it would take them to a different place. You'll notice when you click on it in edit mode, you have the ability to go edit it, change your URL, change the button, realign it. You also have the ability to delete it. So we'll look at it in real view in just a moment. So because I want this at the bottom, I want to go to the plus sign above, but now I'm seeing something that I neglected to tell you. When you enter a picture, you do have the ability to add a caption under your image. Now you don't necessarily have to do the citation here, but you can caption it. So you can add in a little caption there. So I'm going to go ahead, and since we've done a button, now let's talk about video. For video, this is where you can add a link that's either YouTube, Vimeo, or Spark video. And we're going to cover Spark video in a different video, but just so you know, if you have a video URL for YouTube, Vimeo, or Spark, you can paste it here. So all I have to do is paste the URL of that video that I have and click save. Now what that's going to do is embed that video directly on the page so the viewer can even click here and watch it. So that is adding a video. So we've added these four types rather. So now I want to go to the photo grid. The photo grid is very cool because it enables you to make a gallery of images. So what you'll notice is that I get the option to add photos to build my grid. So because this is built in for find free photos, again, I could click back here and I could choose to upload some or go into my Google Drive. But because this has such awesome types of pictures, I'm going to go ahead and select some of the images here. For example, I don't have a snake yet, so I'm going to add a couple different images of different reptiles. So I'm going to find a few, and you'll notice as I'm selecting them, it's rearranging them so that as I find some, it's going to sort of move them around. So now that I have them, it's kind of arranging them on its own in a grid. So when I'm finished, I can click save. But if there's something I want to change about it, all I have to do is click on it and click edit. And so if there was a picture that I decided that I didn't like, I could click on that picture and want you to see what we can do here. So click on replace, choose the new picture, and it's replaced it. So I can do replace. But you could also decide to make it a larger image. So if I wanted this one to be more prominent on the page, I can make this a larger image. So that's what this next button does. It also allows me to move them so that I can move them around on the grid by using the arrow button. The last button I have is the delete button. So you have lots of different options. So again, you can replace the image, enlarge it if it's one that you want to be larger in your grid. You can also move it backward or forward, and you can also delete it. When you're finished, you just click Save. But what you'll notice, like I've said before, is it has this little information button, so you're going to always see that source. The photographer will be cited as also the Unsplash source. Also, you'll get your add caption so that you can add some content to your caption. You'll notice that for adding captions, you have the ability to use bold and italics and do some centering, but you also can link it somewhere else. So let's talk about our next option. This is one of my favorites. This is the glide show. So one of the things you'll see about these images is it just made a little box of images. Where the glide show is different is you get a little bit of a dynamic option while viewing images. So first of all, we're going to add a few background photos to our glide show. So I'm going to pick some pictures that I hadn't used before. Let's see. So here are a few of these. So I've got some pictures that I want to put in my glide show. If I find another one that I want, I can just click on it. Again, with the glide show, when you click on an image, you have the option to replace. You have the option to move forward, which is basically move ahead or behind, and delete. So when you're finished with the glide show, you're going to click Save. Now this is where it gets different. A glide show enables you to have a little box on top of your image, and you'll notice that as I'm scrolling, those pictures are sort of coming at me, and there's a little box on top of it where I can add some content. So this is where you can get that really dynamic quality for your presentations. So as this is coming up, I see that I have a little button here, and on top of this glide show I can add another picture, some text, a button, or even a video. So for this one, maybe I wanted to add some text. Not super exciting, but there you go. And you even can add some things above or beneath that. But I'm going to go ahead here. You'll also notice if I click on my glide show element, I can edit the picture and change my focal point. So I'm going to keep scrolling here, and then here's my next image of my glide show. So you'll see if I can add a picture on top of that. I can't really tell what some of these images are. This one's kind of a silly example, but just so you see, I can even put an image on top of an image and then put a caption there. So now I have a picture on top of the glide. So you see how this looks really dynamic. The same thing again is I could add a button, or I can even add a video. So if there's a different video, and actually I'll just go ahead and use this other video. So if I wanted to embed a video, now I actually have a video on top of this image. And then as all of your content changes, you're going to have some dynamic layering going on. And you can see how these are things that get a little more snazzy and fancy than just your typical PowerPoint or Google slide. So on this one, I'm going to add a button. I'm going to go ahead and say, learn more about turtles. So now I've said learn more about turtles, and I'm going to center my button and save it. And so now this one has a little button about turtles. So those are glide show elements. So you can see how that is really super dynamic. Now before I go to the final piece that you can add to a page, I want to show you this. This is all one page, and if you'll notice as I scroll, I'm going through those different elements I've been adding, but it's all one page. And it's only going to be one link that I have to share, and then I've got all of this content to go with it. So now let's go over our final element, which is a split layout. A split layout allows you to put an image on half and then a different element on the other. So for this image, I'm going to go back to our little choice over here, and I'm going to put this cute little chameleon guy. And I'll notice he's not really exactly where I want him to be. So I'm going to change my focal point more to his face. so that it'll show his face on that side. And then I'm going to click here, and on the other side I don't just have to put text, I could put a different image. This is a great time if I wanted to do some comparisons between what's on the left and what's on the right. I can do text, and I can also put a video. So I could put some text here about what this is about. So now I have, this is a chameleon. It can even change colors. And if I really want something else to be on this page as well, I might even want to say, go here to learn more about chameleons. So I could even add a button to this, and so there's more than just one type of content to the left. Also, one of the things you'll notice is that in this little area there's an arrow, so you can actually have them switch places. So that's what this little button is for, swapping places. So I like it better on the other side. So let's talk about what we do when we're finished. Now we know that last one is our learn more about reptiles, but you're always going to get more pluses to share more content. So I want to show you at this point that if you were to change your theme, it actually changes your theme throughout your entire presentation, because again, this is one continuous page, and so now you'll see how everything kind of changed. Now I have a different look, different kind of font. So you can change that at any time, but just keep in mind it does change your font and your colors a bit. So now that I've finished my presentation, I'm going to go to the share button, and what you'll want to do is publish and share. This is what your students will do, publish and share. They'll be able to put their, it'll pull over the title, and it'll ask them to pick a category. Well, I'm going to always tell my students to pick education, and what you'll notice is it all automatically pulls in every photo credit for any picture that you put in that came from Unsplash. Also gets put in there. Then if you want to get noticed, this can possibly feature your project on the Adobe Spark website. I don't want to do that for this because I've just kind of put some junk in there. But when you're finished, what you'll do is you'll create a link. So what it's doing is creating that link, and then that is the link that I'll be able to share in Google Classroom if I want to share it with students. But what you'll notice is if you're a teacher, you can share it directly to Google Classroom. If it's a student, you'll be able to click there and share it to a particular assignment. But you can also just get that URL. So that's one of the things that you can do. Also, if you were to present this live or present this in a Google Meet, I could go to present and it would take over the screen. I could share my screen and present it verbally. But you also have the preview button at any time so that you can preview it as a person who is visiting your page would see it, and you will be able to see all this content. And so what you have now is a great way to dynamically present content that's not just images and text, but it's also images and links. It's also videos. It's buttons that you can click to link to different things. And then the credits all go at the bottom, so you can see here how your credits come through when it's finished. So it's really only one page, and you get to see everything within it. So that is simply what an Adobe Spark page is. And when I go back to my Adobe Spark home and I go to projects, that's where I'm going to find my All About Reptiles project. And I'll be able to see how many times it's been viewed and if someone liked it. And I also can go to this little site and duplicate it if I wanted to change a couple things about it. I could rename it, and I can even unpublish it or delete it. So you always have the ability to do that from here as well. And anything you've created as a page will have this little page blue box on it. So that's what Adobe Spark pages are. They're just wonderful places that you can go and present content, whether it's text, videos, images, buttons, websites, whatever you want to add, and you can create a really dynamic presentation. You can create them for students, but even more importantly, your students can create them for you. It's just another great way to share learning, whether it's to share it for an instructional purpose or to share it as evidence of learning. Adobe Spark pages are really awesome tools.